Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to I Build Music Studios. I'm Mike DeSalvo. If you're setting up a recording studio, you're probably thinking about your gear, microphones, monitors, interfaces, but have you ever given any thought to your electrical setup? No? Well, let's talk about it, because getting this wrong can lead to noise, shutdowns, or possibly even damaging your expensive gear. So let's dive in. First off, power. Your studio is only as good as the electricity running through it. In order to determine your electrical requirements, we'll have to ask a few questions. Will this be a residential facility or a commercial facility? Will it be an analog recording room or a hybrid recording room? Will it be a mastering studio or even a podcast studio? Each of these will have slightly different requirements, ways of working, and energy consumption. Let's take a quick look at the areas we're going to cover in this video. So, at a minimum, you want dedicated circuits for the studio. What that means is your studio's not sharing a circuit with, say, a fridge in the next room over. Ideally, you'd like to have a riser panel for just the studio. Even more ideally, you'd like to have a completely separate service coming in for the studio itself, although that might not be possible in some situations. For calculating actual power draw, here are some good guidelines. Every acoustically sensitive room in the studio should have a lighting feed. Small rooms should have one overall feed for up to 12 lights. Larger rooms can have multi-switch lighting broken into zones. These circuits should be a direct home run from the panel to the light switch. Common area lighting can be wired at the electrician's discretion. For analog studios that plan on incorporating an analog console or an analog tape machine, you'll need to refer to the piece of equipment you plan on installing. Every piece of gear has different requirements and can require substantial energy sink on startup. For example, a Studer A800 would require about 50 amps on startup, and an SSL-J would require about 100 amps just to start it up.
1.21 gigawatts!
Now, to determine for rack gear in an analog, hybrid, or mastering studio, a good rule of thumb is to allocate for a 20 amp circuit for every 24 RU rack of gear you're going to have. So if you have a producer's desk or an island and it's got 3 24 RU racks in it, you need 3 20 amp circuits for that.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Ever hear that annoying hum in your recordings? If you have a home studio, have you ever had someone turn on an appliance and you hear it?
I said take only what you need to survive.
It's my industrial strength hairdryer, and I can't live without it!
Ever heard the radio or cell phones through your speakers? This is a bad ground. The fix? Well, first, always try to use dedicated power for the studio. Secondly, try to make sure that the studio has a dedicated ground. Third, when building your studio, always try to use shielded MC cable. Next up, surge protection. Studios have very delicate electronics, and a power surge can fry your entire setup in seconds. At the very least, you should have a surge protector, but ideally, you should have a power conditioner. Personally, I like the Furman and Monster Power units. They regulate your voltage, and they can filter out unwanted electrical noise. For larger studios with analog consoles or analog tape machines, we may want to look into an isolation transformer for clean studio power, but we'll dive into that on another video. What happens if the power goes out mid-session? If you're serious about your work, you'll probably want to look into an uninterruptible power supply, or UPS. Essentially, it's a battery backup that buys you a few minutes to power down and save your session correctly. You don't want to lose the perfect take because the lights flickered, trust me. Alright, so to recap, dedicated circuits, proper grounding, surge protection, and a backup plan. Get these right and you'll have a stable setup in your studio. Got any questions or your own studio horror stories? Drop them in the comments. And please, if this helped you out, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.